Why is it that a janitor can work 80 hours a week and still can't pay his rent on time, while a hedge fund manager makes millions while sitting on a beach in the Maldives? Is the hedge fund manager smarter? Maybe. Is he working harder? Absolutely not. So what's the difference? Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody taught us in school. The poor trade time for money. The rich build systems that trade money for more money. That's it. That's the whole game. Most of us were handed a blueprint the moment we were born. Go to school, get good grades, find a stable job, work hard, save a little, retire at 65 if you're lucky. We were designed, almost engineered, to be cogs in a machine. But here's the problem. The machine is breaking. Inflation is eating your savings. Wages haven't kept up with the cost of living in decades. And the 9-to-5 job that was supposed to be safe is getting automated out of existence. So if the old blueprint is broken, what's the new one? That's exactly what we're going to cover today. I'm going to walk you through what I call wealth theory. The three unfair advantages that the wealthy quietly use to decouple their income from their time. And more importantly, I'm going to show you how you can start applying the exact same principles, even if you're starting from zero. Now, before we dive in, I want to ask you something. Be honest with yourself. Right now, if you stopped working tomorrow, how long could you survive financially? 1 month? 2 months? A week? That question is going to feel very different by the end of this video. Let's get into it. Chapter 2, The Time Money Trap. Why working harder keeps you poor. 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Let me introduce you to two fictional people. Call them Alex and Marcus. Alex wakes up at 5:30 a.m. every single day. He commutes an hour each way. He works 10-hour shifts at a warehouse. On weekends, he picks up delivery gigs. He is, by every definition of the word, a hard worker. At the end of the month, after taxes, rent, food, and a car payment, he has maybe $200 left over. Marcus? Marcus wakes up at 9. He checks his phone for 20 minutes over coffee. He owns a small apartment building with 6 units, has a few index funds, and runs an online course that sells on autopilot. By the time Marcus finishes his second cup of coffee, he's already made more than Alex will make in a full day of work. Here's the key question. Is Alex lazy? No. Is he less intelligent? Not necessarily. So why is his financial life so different from Marcus's? The answer is something economists call linear income versus exponential income. Alex has linear income. He trades 1 hour of his life for a fixed amount of dollars. You stop working, the money stops. It's a direct, one-on-one exchange. And here's the brutal ceiling. There are only 24 hours in a day. No matter how hard Alex works, he cannot scale himself. Marcus has exponential income, what we'd call passive and leveraged income. His money, his assets, his systems, they work for him. He broke the direct link between time and earnings. Robert Kiyosaki popularized this concept in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The idea that wealthy people acquire assets while the middle class acquires liabilities they think are assets. Your car is not an asset. Your iPhone is not an asset. Even your house, if it's your primary residence, is debatable. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money out. Simple, brutal, true. Here's a thought experiment. Look around your life right now. How many real assets do you own? Things that generate income without you showing up. For most people, the honest answer is 0. And that's not a character flaw, it's a design flaw. You were never taught to think this way. But that changes right now. Approximately 3 o'clock mark, subscribe CTA. Real quick. If you're finding this valuable and want more content that actually teaches you how money really works, hit that subscribe button right now. I put out videos every week breaking down wealth, investing, and financial strategy in a way that actually makes sense. No fluff, no gimmicks. Hit subscribe and let's keep building together. Chapter 3. Unfair advantage number 1, leverage. 5 o'clock to 7:30. Archimedes, the ancient Greek mathematician, once said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world." He was talking about physics. But the wealthiest people on earth figured out he was also describing money. Leverage is the single most powerful force in wealth building, and it comes in 4 forms. I call them the 4 levers of the rich. Lever 1. Financial leverage. Other people's money. When a real estate investor buys a $500,000 apartment building, do they pull $500,000 from their savings? Almost never. They put down $100,000 and borrow the rest from a bank. Now they control a $500,000 asset with only $100,000 of their own money. If that property appreciates by 10%, that's $50,000 in gains. On a $100,000 investment, that's a 50% return. Without leverage, it would have been 10%. This is why the wealthy love debt. Not consumer debt, not credit card debt, but strategic debt that acquires income-producing assets. They're using the bank's money to make themselves richer. Would you ever have thought of debt as a tool rather than a trap? That mindset shift alone is worth the price of admission. Lever 2. Human leverage, other people's time. Jeff Bezos doesn't pack Amazon boxes. Elon Musk doesn't weld Tesla cars. They've leveraged other people's time and labor to multiply their output far beyond what any single human could do. Now you don't need to be a billionaire to use this lever. A small business owner who hires a virtual assistant for $5 an hour, freeing up 10 hours of their own week to focus on $100 per hour work? That's leverage. The moment you start thinking about who can do this instead of me, you start playing the leverage game. Lever 3. Technology leverage, code and media. When someone writes a piece of software, it can be used by a million people simultaneously with zero additional effort. When a YouTuber makes a video, it can generate ad revenue while they sleep forever. Naval Ravikant, one of the most respected thinkers in Silicon Valley, put it perfectly. Code and media are permissionless leverage. You don't need anyone's approval to start a YouTube channel. You don't need a boss to greenlight your app idea. The internet has given ordinary people access to leverage that only kings and corporations used to have. Are you using it? Lever 4. Network leverage, other people's platforms. Your network is not just your net worth, it's your amplifier. One strategic partnership, one collaboration with someone who has an established audience, one introduction to the right investor can change the entire trajectory of your financial life. The wealthy don't just build wealth alone, they build ecosystems. And ecosystems compound faster than individuals. Chapter 4. Unfair Advantage Number 2. The Asset Acquisition Playbook, 7:30 to 10:30. Okay, so we know about leverage. Now let's talk about what you actually build with it. The wealthy follow what I call the Asset Acquisition Playbook, a deliberate, almost obsessive strategy of converting earned income into income-producing assets as fast as possible. Think of it like a conveyor belt. Money comes in. Money immediately gets converted into assets. Assets generate more money. That money buys more assets. The cycle repeats. It compounds. Here are the 5 asset categories the wealthy focus on. Asset 1. Equity, owning pieces of businesses. The single greatest wealth creation vehicle in modern history has been owning equity, shares, in businesses. The S&P 500 has returned an average of roughly 10% per year over the last century. Not a single year. On average, over a century. If you had invested $10,000 in an S&P 500 index fund 30 years ago, you'd have approximately $174,000 today, without touching it, without managing it, without doing anything except not panicking when markets dropped. What would you do if you had $10,000 right now? Would it go to assets or liabilities? Asset 2. Real estate. Real estate is where most first-generation wealth is built. Why? Because it combines 4 simultaneous wealth builders in one. Cash flow, monthly rent income above your mortgage. Appreciation, property value rising over time. Tax advantages, depreciation deductions, mortgage interest write-offs. And leverage, using the bank's money, as we just covered. You don't need to own a skyscraper. A single-family rental property or a small multi-family unit is how thousands of everyday people have built genuine financial independence. Asset 3. Digital assets and intellectual property. Online courses, ebooks, templates, music royalties, patents, these are assets you build once and sell indefinitely. A teacher who packages her knowledge into an online course and sells it for $49 can earn $200, $2,000, or $20,000 a month from a video she recorded 2 years ago, while she sleeps. This is the most accessible asset class in history, and it requires more creativity than capital. Asset 4. Cash-flowing businesses. You don't have to start a startup. Some of the most reliable wealth builders are boring businesses. Laundromats, storage units, car washes, vending machines, local service businesses. They're not glamorous. They're not going to get written up in Forbes. But they generate consistent, predictable cash flow, the holy grail of financial freedom. Asset 5. Human capital, the foundation. Here's the one people always skip: yourself. Your earning ability is your first and most important asset. Every skill you acquire, sales, coding, writing, negotiating, investing, increases the return on your time. You can't leverage what you haven't built. Investing in your skills, knowledge, and network is the highest ROI investment you will ever make, especially in your 20s and 30s, approximately 8 o'clock mark, like CTA. Hey, quick pause. If you've made it this far and you're finding this genuinely useful, do me a quick favor and smash that like button. It genuinely helps this video reach more people who need to hear this stuff. It costs you nothing and means a lot. Okay, back to business. Chapter 5. Unfair advantage number 3. The tax code 1030 to 13 o'clock. Alright, this is the chapter that makes accountants uncomfortable and politicians nervous. Because this is where we talk about how the ultra-wealthy pay less in taxes, often a lower effective rate than their secretaries, and it's completely 100% legal. Warren Buffett himself famously said, "I pay a lower tax rate than my receptionist." How? How is that possible? It comes down to one fundamental truth. The tax code was not written for wage earners. It was written by and for business owners and investors. Think about it. When you earn a salary, the government takes their cut first, before you ever see the money. You earn $100, the government takes $30, you get $70. Done. No debate, no flexibility. But when a business owner earns $100, they get to spend it on legitimate business expenses first: equipment, education, home office, vehicle, travel, then pay taxes on what's left. The government takes their cut last. That's the first layer. The second layer is capital gains tax. When you sell a stock or property you've held for more than 1 year, you pay capital gains tax, which maxes out at 20% for most people. Compare that to ordinary income tax, which can go up to 37%. The wealthy structure their income so that most of it looks like capital gains rather than wages. That's why a hedge fund manager who makes $10 million might pay less in taxes, percentage-wise, than a nurse making $80,000. Is this fair? That's a debate for politicians, but is it legal? Absolutely. And until the rules change, the smart move is to understand them. The third layer is tax-advantaged accounts. 401 KADRS, IRAs, Roth IRAs, HSAs. These are legal shelters the government has explicitly built for wealth accumulation. And yet surveys consistently show that a staggering percentage of Americans either aren't using them or aren't maximizing them. A Roth IRA, for example, lets your investments grow completely tax-free, and you pay zero taxes on withdrawals in retirement. Zero. That's an extraordinary gift that millions of people are leaving on the table. Here's the question you should be asking your accountant. How do I restructure my income so I'm paying taxes like an investor, not like an employee? If your accountant doesn't have a good answer to that, you might need a new accountant. Chapter 6. Your 90-day wealth blueprint. 13 o'clock to 15 o'clock. Okay, we've covered a lot. Leverage, asset acquisition, tax strategy. I know it can feel overwhelming. So let me bring it all together into something you can actually use. I call this the 90-day wealth blueprint. 3 phases. 30 days each. Days 1 through 30. Audit and foundation. Before you can build wealth, you need to know exactly where you stand. This month, track every dollar coming in and every dollar going out. Calculate your net worth, assets minus liabilities, even if the number scares you. Open a Roth IRA if you don't have one. And identify one skill you can develop that would increase your earning power. Ask yourself, what is 1 hour of my time actually worth right now, and what would it take to double that number? Days 31 through 60. Build your first asset. This month, you take action on one asset class. Open a brokerage account and invest consistently, even $50 a month, into a low-cost index fund. Research one real estate market or one digital product you could create. Identify one form of leverage you can apply. Can you delegate something? Automate something? Create something once that sells repeatedly? Days 61 through 90. Optimize and compound. Now you refine. Review your tax situation with a professional. Reinvest any returns immediately. Never let idle money sit. Build your network intentionally. One new meaningful financial connection per week. Set a 12-month asset acquisition goal and reverse engineer it month by month. Here's the truth nobody tells you. The gap between the rich and everyone else is not about intelligence. It's not about luck. And it's definitely not about how hard you work. It's about what you know, what you own, and how you think. The janitor and the hedge fund manager both work. But only one of them understood that the real game isn't earning money. It's making money earn for you. You now have the blueprint. The question is, what will you do with it? The people who watch this video and do nothing will be in the exact same place a year from now. The people who take even one step, open that account, read that book, build that skill, will be on a completely different trajectory. That trajectory compounds, and compounding, given enough time, is unstoppable. Approximately 15 o'clock mark, share CTA before you go. I want to ask you one genuine favor. Think of one person in your life who needs to hear this. A friend who's working themselves to exhaustion and barely getting by. A sibling who's never been taught how money actually works. A partner who deserves a better financial future. Share this video with them. Right now, one tap. It might be the most valuable thing you do for them today. And if you want to continue building your financial intelligence, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Because the people who understand money, they never stop learning.